So there is only one thing for certain about this new psychological thriller. She dies. But when does she die, you may ask? God, if only these filmmakers had left me some sort of clue! Hey there guys, how are you? And welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be hopping back to VOD land to discuss Neon Studios' brand new psychological thriller, She Dies Tomorrow. That's right, this is a brand new psychological thriller written and directed by Amy Seimetz, who some of you might know as the female lead from Pet Sematary, which came out last year. This movie's central character, Amy, is eerily convinced that she is going to die tomorrow, and somehow this conviction very quickly spreads through her little town like a contagion. Sheesh, where have I heard that one before? Now, before I get any further into this review, thank you all so much, as always, for stopping by, and I hope you guys enjoy your stay. If any of you are new here, just please make sure to hit that subscribe button as hard as you possibly can, as well as leave a thumbs up on the video if you like it by the end. But with that, let's discuss She Dies Tomorrow, because this movie going in, I really did not know what to expect. Now, I love psychological scary stuff. The horror genre in general is one of my personal favorites. And like all media, fear is definitely subjective. A lot of different people find different things scary. Personally, the stuff that I find scary is the stuff that I can see really grounded in reality. Think Silence of the Lambs, The Exorcist to a certain extent, and Hereditary especially. These are all movies that send shivers up and down my spine every time I watch them. And by the looks of it, this movie felt like it was going to be along those same lines as Silence of the Lambs or even a Hereditary. And from the get-go, critics have absolutely praised this movie. They loved it. It's already certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, as a matter of fact. So I was definitely hyped to see what this movie was all about. And I've got to say, there's a fair amount of things to like about She Dies Tomorrow. The performances, I think, are all very good. But I've got to talk about the technical prowess that's on display here. Amy Seimetz's direction of not just how her actors perform on camera, but also her placement of them on screen looks really, really clean. The cinematography and the editing to go along with it, also very crisp and very precise. I've got absolutely no qualms with the technicals of this film. It looks really, really great. Also, just a side note, if there are any viewers that have history of epilepsy, there is a ton of strobe lights in this movie, so just be forewarned. Yeah, lots of strobe lighting and the neon greens, the blues, the reds. This movie is very, very colorful, surprisingly. And that honestly is the biggest praise that I can give this movie. Not just simply the technical prowess, but the imagery that's on display here. Similar to a Hereditary, there's a lot of symbolism throughout She Dies Tomorrow. There are a lot of things about this movie that are really brutal, really gruesome, but somehow super beautiful at the same time. It's almost like you've picked up the most gruesome kaleidoscope you've ever seen in your life. The movie looks really good, the technicals, no qualms like I said, but unfortunately, that's about it on the positives for this movie. She Dies Tomorrow is a very messy movie, especially speaking in terms of the plot and the screenplay. This thing is all over the place. Now, before I dig any deeper, I gotta give the movie credit where credit is due. The first act is absolutely unbelievable. By far, this was the most interesting part of this movie, super transfixing. And I have to admit, a lot of Amy's sequences near the beginning of this film, really, really interesting. They were done with little to no dialogue. That's something I really admired, and I found that stuff super intriguing. I was really curious. I wanted to learn as much about this character as possible. Why was she doing the things she was doing? I love a more contained plot in a movie like this, and these two characters, their story, I thought that was going to be the entire movie. I also really admire that Amy Seimetz, the director, placed a lot of trust in her audience. A lot of the exposition and a lot of the information about this film isn't just spoon-fed to the audience. It's like, okay, there you go, that's it. One of those movies you really got to pay attention to and analyze. And honestly, that first act, I was really hooked. I was feeling queasy inside. It was a really uneasy feeling. Very reminiscent of a Hereditary or even a Silence of the Lambs. But after that is where my issues really start. After just being introduced to these two characters and being really, really invested, then they introduce Jane's brother and all of his friends. This is where the movie really falls off a cliff, sadly. First of all, these characters, the performances were not bad, but they were introduced way too late in the game for me to be interested in them at all. And on top of that, no spoilers of course, but there is one character that does one of the most cruel things I've ever seen somebody do to another human being. Honestly, it's kind of heartless thinking about it more and more. Just so mean. And even when the movie is building towards the climax, even more characters are introduced, and they have even less time to work with. And because there are so many characters even at the beginning of the second act, the movie has to jump in between like a bajillion different plot lines, and it kind of forms a cohesive narrative. They kind of connect, but at the same time they don't. It just felt like a million different things were going on here, and the train just took off, and I could not follow it from that point. The problem here when you have this many characters is the condensed runtime. This movie is just shy of the 90-minute mark. And when you only have 90 minutes and this many characters, it's kind of troubling to get invested in them when you have as little time with them. And especially when one of them is doing one of the cruelest things I've ever seen somebody do, it's really hard to get behind them. Even though this also may be an easy film to sit through in terms of time, it's only 90 minutes, but this film felt like it went on 3 hours or so. This was a slog to get through, sadly. I honestly found myself bored some of the time once those characters were introduced. This is the exact definition of very slow build. Personally, this is just my opinion, but I think this story and this narrative would have been so much more investing and so much better if it was presented as a mini-series. This way, if you have multiple episodes and not just 90 minutes, you give those characters more time to develop and actually become a little bit more interesting. In the end, I was kind of disappointed by She Dies Tomorrow, and I'm going to give it a C+. This is not a terrible movie by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, the technicals of this movie are pristine. The imagery, the direction, the cinematography, the performances, all really solid. But the scattered, sloggy plotline and the inanely unlikable characters just really did not do it for me, guys. Side note, there's going to be a lot of ideas about this film's meaning and theories specifically. I think this is just an 85-minute allegory of the COVID-19 pandemic. I could see this film getting somewhat of a cult following in the years to come, with so many people analyzing its meaning and theorizing about it. Do I ever see myself rewatching She Dies Tomorrow again? Probably not. But hey, maybe you guys will like this movie better than I did. It's on VOD right now. Feel free to check it out. If you guys have seen She Dies Tomorrow already, or you're looking forward to seeing it, I'd like to know all of your thoughts regardless down in the comments section below. And thank you so much once again, as always, for tuning in. Be sure to leave a thumbs up on the video if you liked it. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button as hard as you possibly can before you go. We are so close to reaching that 100 subscriber mark. Thank you all so much for your support so far. And if you guys can help me at least reach 100 subscribers on the channel, you're going to get a very special surprise video from me very soon. You guys are the best. Thank you so much as always for tuning in and supporting the channel. Look forward to more reviews very soon. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.